This is the all-new MG HS, and it's MG's entry into the compact crossover SUV segment. If you're considering the MG HS, your other probable choice would be the Ford Territory. And so with that said, how does MG's latest SUV fare against the competition? Let's start with how the way the MG HS looks. From the outside, the MG HS is a compact crossover SUV. And price-wise, it competes with the likes of the Ford Territory. Though its more mainstream but more expensive competitors include the Honda CR-V, Mazda CX-5, Subaru Forester, but of course the MG HS significantly costs less. Pero hindi yun halata sa kanyang exterior design. As far as MG's SUVs go, the HS looks well proportioned. Maporma ang kanyang chrome grille, and those LED headlights, by the way, features animated sweeping turn signals for this top trim trophy variant. You also get 18-inch alloy wheels, along with full LED taillight clusters that also feature sweeping LED turn signals. Having everything considered, the MG HS actually looks quite good. And sa aking personal na opinion, mas trip ko ang itsura nito compared sa Ford Territory. And that's especially the case once you go inside this vehicle. So now that we're here inside the MG HS, and you'll be impressed by the SUV's interior quality. So for perspective, this car costs 1.308888. For some reason, yung brand na to likes 8s. No? So, yeah. Anyway, the interior quality is impressive for the price point. Much better pa for me compared to the Ford Territory, which I was medyo mixed bag siya sa akin yung interior quality ng Ford Territory. And there's soft touch materials all over the place. It's, for me, at this price point, this has the best interior quality. I like also yung kanyang hard buttons and how they feel. They feel creaky. Then the vents are really good, yung mga parang turbine-style aircon vents niya. The seats are also worth mentioning, these bucket seats for the trophy variant. They look really good and they're very supportive on long drives. And they really hug you in place. Hindi mo siya ganun ka-sporty. It won't, doesn't aggressively hold you in place when you go through turns. But, unfortunately, while the interior looks good and feels good, sa totoo lang, I really have a huge issue with the infotainment system. So, for the most part, okay siya. Yung kanyang response, may lagging response minsan, but the menu structure is sort of okay lang. The reason why I dislike the infotainment system is I did not give Peugeot a pass here and Volvo, so I'm not gonna be giving MG a pass here. I really hate manufacturers when they put the climate control sa infotainment system. So, yes, may hard buttons ka, but they're reserved for controlling the infotainment, yung home screen, yung volume, but none of those are for adjusting the climate control. So, if you want to turn on the aircon, as in, you just simply want to turn it on or off, you have to dive in through a menu, which, let's be honest, doesn't even load that fast. And then, unlike the Peugeot, or even the Volvo, for instance, na yung kanyang temperature adjustment will be constantly there, dito sa MG, it's really buried in a menu. So, it's really 1 or 2 steps more than what you should be doing in changing the aircon temperature or the mode, which is really irritating for me. Apart from that, the infotainment system screen is sharp, it's crisp, the icons look nice. At least there's Apple CarPlay and Android Auto, but I really hate it when the manufacturers bury the climate control sa infotainment system, so I'm not giving the MG a pass in that regard. But, yeah. As for the rest of the interior, it's really nice, it's really a great interior with lovely premium touches, but I really just hate car manufacturers putting the climate controls into the touchscreen. So, yeah, that's the only thing that spoils it for me. Then there's also the digital gauges. They look nice as well, but medyo yung kanyang animations aren't that smooth. But then this is 1.3 million pesos, so I don't really expect that much. But at least it's there. And then yung digital gauges, which does look modern naman talaga at its price point. And as a whole, it's a really nice place to be in for the MG HS. Unless you just want to live with the fact na yung kanyang air conditioning controls are buried into the touchscreen. But, yeah. So moving on to the back seats of the MGHS, and there's a lot of room for my 5'10", 5'11" height, so you have a lot of legroom. Though I think that without the sport seats, the bucket seats, mas magiging maluwag yung legroom niya if you're going to the lower variant. Pero as it is, you have airplane style na seat back pockets, which is actually very posh at this price point. Then yun nga, maganda legroom. Headroom's also pretty generous, especially even if you have the panoramic sunroof, usually kasi this eats into headspace. And then it's also a wide interior, so as a result of that, it can actually fit 3 adults genuinely. Hindi siya yung parang mag-aagawan kayo sa shoulder room. And then, other amenities, I like the armrest. There's this faux brushed aluminum trim din sa kanyang armrest. You have the cup holders and storage here. You also have 2 USB ports, and you also have yung kanyang rear aircon vents and yung air purifier. This is actually a really good back seat, and then even at 1.3 million pesos, they didn't scrimp out on the rear seat materials, no, yung materials ito. So usually other manufacturers, Honda including, yung rear doors would be in hard plastic na. Here it's still soft touch plastic. Meron ka pa rin ng leather padding dito and stuff. It's still a nice place to be in even if you're at the back seat of the MGHS. So I'm happy to report na even the back seats of the HS are really good. Yeah, it's a very nice place to be in, regardless if you're in the front or the back. And then as for cargo space, the MGHS offers 463 liters of space, which compared to other compact SUVs like the Honda CR-V, is actually on the smaller end. But compared to the Ford Territory, it's actually about the same size. That space increases to more than 1,400 liters when you fold the second row seats down. Under the hood of the MGHS is a 1.5-liter 4-cylinder turbocharged gasoline engine, which is very typical for a Chinese-made crossover SUV. Power is then sent to the front wheels via a 7-speed dual-clutch automatic. And out on the open road, this is how the MGHS performs. We've officially hit the road with the new MGHS, and if you're gonna think that this is gonna be a sporty car based on its sport seats, well, it's not. Okay, it's not. It's not a sporty car. It's not a bad car, mind you. Baka isipin nyo it's a bad car. No, it's not. It's not. It's just that hindi siya sporty. And so with that said, let's begin with the car's driving experience out on twisty roads. So in terms of power delivery, medyo I guess 90% lang yung aking good point sa kanya. So power delivery when the 7-speed dual clutch and the turbos have come in sync are actually good. So okay yung power delivery niya kapag nag-in-sync na yung 7-speed dual clutch and yung turbo. Pero pag hindi, for just now, ang lag niya actually if you want, let's say, to overtake, if you put your foot down and you want to overtake other cars, malag siya. Power delivery here is medyo on the laggy side if you want to overtake other cars. Pretty much like basically almost every other car with a small displacement turbo gasoline engine. Probably exception for me would be some Geely cars and a lot of GAC cars. Maganda yung engineering sa akin ng powertrain ng dalawang kotse, ng dalawang brands na yon. But yeah, once the turbos and the 7-speed dual clutch transmission are in sync, the power delivery is endless. Yun nga lang, you just need to be patient for it to deliver that power. Yun nga lang, you have to take note of that. It's sort of remedy when you put the car in manual mode, when you put the car dito sa kanang paddle shifters, or if you put the car in super sport mode. So okay, let's be honest, it doesn't really transform the car into a sports car, but at least it does make the car more responsive and all that stuff. I wouldn't recommend permanently putting the car in that mode since it makes the car a bit too jumpy and throttle responsive for me, or it holds the gears for far too long. So it's okay lang siya if it's pagdating sa overtaking, but for like the entire drive mo to, let's say, sa destination mo, I'd rather have it in normal mode for the most part pa rin. And then it's also worth mentioning, by the way, na yung kanyang 7-speed dual clutch also has a bit of hesitancy kapag, let's say, you're in an incline or you're crawling through traffic. So there's that feeling of parang ngarag-ngarag. Like in the Jeep Renegade, mayroon siyang ganung feeling na parang it's sort of indecisive whether actually wants to deliver that power or not kapag, let's say, nakatigil ka or you're crawling through traffic. And then yung kanang steering naman in terms of response, it's actually responsive. Okay yung response ng steering niya. My issue would be the fact na the steering is so light and there's basically almost no feedback sa kanang steering. So you really can't tell what's happening to the front wheels. So we're gonna go through these corners, and yeah, it's okay. It's a comfortable SUV. Yun ang kanang orientation. It's not a sporty SUV. Basically, with its light steering, and also, of course, let's talk about the suspension then. The suspension with its multi-link rear and kanang McPherson strut front, you would think that also na medyo on the sporty side yung setup niya, but it's not. It handles roads. It handles corrugated roads really well actually. Maganda ride quality niya. But as you push the cars through corners, it's not sporty either. So there's a good amount of body roll actually. Not overly dramatic, but there is body roll that sort of detracts this car's driving experience sa kanang sportiness. Basically, it's more on the comfort-oriented side of things when it comes to handling this car. So yeah, this car sensibly, and they're gonna enjoy the MGHS comfort and refinement, because the refinement levels in this car are actually really good. And the brakes, the brakes by the way, in CTUs, medyo I find the brakes a bit too grabby, a bit too soft. So I'm a person whose preference is towards firm brakes, or at least naman sobrang firm, but I mean yung may degree of firmness. So kapag nasa city ako, para I tend to pagdating sa brake modulation ko, hindi ganun kaganda. So I find the brakes to be a bit too soft in CTUs. Once you're moving, okay lang, but kapag nasa stop and go traffic ka, para it's hindi naman necessarily a bad thing, but it's more of, it's something that you're gonna get used to eventually, and it's more of an observation from my end as well pagdating sa kanang brakes. It has good stopping power naman, but yeah, it's just worth mentioning that the brakes feel soft, yung kanang pedal feel when you're in city traffic. So out here in the open road, this is where the MGHS starts to shine even more. So one of the highlights for me of the MGHS is its good levels of refinement. So road and winners are really kept to a minimum. I think one of the best in its class for me pa in that aspect. The chassis is also rigid. It feels solid for its class, and despite having this large panoramic sunroof, usually this would affect rigidity somewhat. But here in the MGHS, even if you go through bad roads, ano pa rin siya, hindi yung parang wala kang naramdaman mga flexing or whatever na mga ganyan. It still feels really solid. Which for me, not a lot of people talk about chassis rigidity, but for me, that's an important factor when it comes to refinement, because I don't like my car feeling like gelatin in terms of yung kanyang solidity, diba? That's a turn off for me. And then the suspension performs even better sa magandang sitwasyon, no? So when you go through bumps at high speeds, mas maganda yung pag-absorb niya. And it really feels very stable and composed when you're traveling at high speed sa mga highways. Kahit may lubak, it feels really great sa kanang ride. The steering then becomes more on the stable side, so you don't do a lot of steering correction sa kanang steering, no? And this is gonna be a good time to talk about its fuel economy. So for the past week that I've been driving this car, this has been doing 11.9 liters per 100 kilometers. So in km per liter, that's gonna be roughly siguro 9.9, 9.8. Not exactly the best, but okay, sakto lang for a gasoline turbocharged SUV. But yeah, not the best in terms of fuel economy. Mas matipid pa sa akin yung mga cars like yung mga Japanese brands like the Honda CR-V na 2.0 gas and the Mazda CX-5 na 2.0 gas din. They're more fuel efficient. As a matter of fact, in terms of fuel consumption, medyo kapantingan ito yung mga 2.5 liter na version ng Mazda CX-5. But overall, yeah, it's a really good, comfortable, long-distance cruiser. This is not a sporty SUV, mind you. This is more of a comfort cruiser. And in that aspect, the MGHS excels. And yeah, solid SUV. I actually would prefer this much more over the Ford Territory. This gets the driving experience much more better compared to its Ford rival. Feels more cohesive. Not the best pa rin. There are still some kinks in its armor. Pero it's a much better engineered driving experience for me in the MGHS compared to the Ford Territory. Pricing for the MGHS starts at 1,258,888. And why is there so much 8s here? And that gets the base Alpha variant. Some of the highlights of this variant include halogen headlights, panoramic sunroof, synthetic leather interior, 10-inch touchscreen infotainment system, 18-inch alloy wheels, tire pressure monitoring system, reverse camera, just to name a few.
splurging for the top-end trophy variant gives you full LED headlights, a powered tailgate, fully digital gauges, automatic climate control, power adjustable front sport seats, blind spot warning, and rear cross traffic alert. So, how do we sum up the MGHS then? Considering that compact SUVs are so popular nowadays, the new MGHS serves as a good step forward for the brand. It's a well thought out and stylish vehicle, and though the overall driving experience still needs a bit of fine tuning, the rest of the package more than makes up for the MGHS, and it's still an easy to recommend SUV to those looking for an affordable compact SUV.